Hello there, guys. So today we're going to be talking all about autumn. We're going to be talking some of the vibrations, some of the energies, some of the feelings, some of the messages, some of the spiritual ecosystem, and we're going to be showing the autumn set for Starry-Eyed Supplies at the end of the video as well. But first, as always, we're going to cover the meat of the video, the energies that we're looking at, why I think certain messages are important right now, kind of like pulling on strands of the universe, finger on the witch pulse, as I like to say. So coming into autumn, and it's feeling very autumnal, very early. I don't know if this is Scotland particularly. I have heard other people say that they feel that autumn came in as an energy very, very early, very, very quickly this year. But in Scotland, we're already around the 10 degrees C, which I think is 50-ish Fahrenheit, if I remember correctly, to American. So it's already very, very cool. The leaves have been turning. I took a picture yesterday because the leaves had turned on the tree already, just down the road, and I was like, autumn! And I was a little bit excited to see it. So it's definitely coming in quite early. But then here are some of the vibrations that I think magically and kind of sink in to the autumn energies of things. Now, I've put it in terms of Falling Leaves of Avalon, which is both the name of the set for the end, but it's also the energy and the vibration given name and form for autumn. So it embodies the heart of autumn to me. The leaves on the trees dancing their last and kissing the surface of the lake, causing ripples of prophecy. So there's definitely a prophetic feeling right now that things being spoken into being will become manifest. There's definitely a strong link between what we say, how we speak, the focus of our words, and what will become. Almost like we're being prophetic with our words right now. The energies assist in celebrating personal harvest with gratitude, teaching us to see the bounty of soul. Now, this is really important, bounty of soul within our personal harvests, as well as supporting us through periods of personal change, to provide deep healing through periods of personal transformation. So there's kind of like this duality thing that goes on. On the one hand, there's the reminding you to be grateful and celebratory of your own personal harvest, especially harvest of soul right now. There has been a vibration coming into where I think we're at currently, and the vibration coming into that was definitely like a self-doubt. The vibration that came in to where we are at now, which has shifted slightly, was, am I enough? Am I good enough? Can I speak this? Can I do this? I'm not sure. And that kind of negative self-talk thing was definitely high coming into it. And people kind of were retreating a little bit, didn't know how to interact with each other a little bit. There was miscommunication in the ether around that time. And then we came into what's happening now. And it's quite confrontational. It's quite aggressive. There's the questioning of authenticity and falsehood, and how dare you do this, and how dare you speak for this. This kind of came from the Sephora stuff, and it's given ripples in many different directions. And I've been trying to say to people, like, I think the best way of looking at this particular situation that's affecting so many people is to try and evaluate and listen to all points of view without jumping on the bandwagon of the offended, because jumping on the bandwagon of the offended gives it a weird kind of power over you that it doesn't need to have. It also can dilute your very reasonable points, because when we get on the offended bandwagon, we can get like really, our energy becomes tied up in this ball, and we need to bitch at anyone who will listen, and it kind of takes away from the very real points within our discussion, our debate, our argument. There's also this thing that's happening where we're being confronted with the idea of who is allowed to do what. This authority challenge thing, which I never enjoy never enjoy it, because you can make arguments that no one has any rights to do anything if you really want to, and it's just hubris, and it doesn't help. It doesn't help the situation at all, to get tied into that, and tied down to trying to dictate to other people what their path is supposed to be. There has been as well this other thing that's happening, with this people trying to like define witchcraft and all the rest of it, and to me witchcraft is a practice, and I think most of us are aware that the practice of witchcraft is often in conjunction but not strictly tied to spirituality. So spirituality to me, and spiritual belief and spiritual faith, is separate to the practice of witchcraft, because people from many different spiritual backgrounds perform magic. There are people who call themselves witches from all kinds of different walks of life, and they come under the umbrella term, or maybe they call it paganism, which is more of a spiritual term, with the premise of performing spells and magic. But witchcraft over here is technically a practice. Look at the practice hand, practice hand, practice hand. Anyway, that sounds rude thinking about it. Never mind. But for the majority of people, spiritual faith, working with deity and all that, is not the same as this. This physical practice of magic is separate. And that's how I've always understood it personally. And that's how most people that I've spoken to have the general feeling about it. That's not to say the two can't and don't interconnect and mesh. They do, in many different and varied ways. And I think the highly personal nature of these things, as I've said on many occasions, gives rise to arguments. I think people know the way that works for them, and then they get on the high horse about it being the right way, the only way to look at and understand spirituality and magic. And it takes away from people's right to think and discover for themselves without judgment and being bashed. So there's that vibration coming into the fore right now. Don't give in to superiority complexes. It's not helpful. It's not reaching out to our fellow human beings to help them at all. It's control under the guise of helping. That's not helping. We also don't have something else that's come into the ether as a result of the Sephora stuff and other things as well, is determining where somebody came into witchcraft from, that their right to practice spirituality, and the roots of where they came from. And I honestly feel this is disappointing, again, to be honest, because it really doesn't matter where somebody discovers witchcraft. It doesn't. I understand the problems around the Sephora thing, and I've discussed that at length in that video. So I don't really want to harp on about that too much. But where somebody discovers magic or spirituality is A, personal and their business, B, none of yours, and C, it doesn't make any difference in the long term. Where they come to, where they grow from, how they conduct themselves, how they move forward through their spirituality and magical life, it's up to them. And slapping down value judgments left, right, and center is permanently looking outside of the self for someone to blame for the situation of things, rather than upholding oneself to a higher standard of practice and being. There is no one way up the mountain, and to pretend there is for all people is backwards. It's controlling. Honestly, it backfeeds in a backhanded kind of way into like this dictatorship thing. Like, you have to do it this way. And it's a veneration of a system which tells everybody else that they're wrong. And for a lot of people have tried to move away from dogmatic religions who provide one platform to being saved or whatever it is, rather than acknowledging and honoring other practices within reason. You know, you don't obviously honor practices which are anti-humanitarianism, that hurt people, that put people in abusive or risky situations. You don't honor that. That's not freedom of practice, that's abuse. But within reason, live and let live, which is a problem that has been ongoing, that I think is something people may want to reconsider and think about. Like, does it really matter how X, Y, and Z practice? Some people think it affects the way the world sees us, and that is interesting, because I understand the fear mentality of how other people see us feeding into whether or not they have people coming after us, but we can't live in fear. It's no way to live. And if you're constantly looking at how other people think about how you practice, then you're more concerned with the outside of yourself, and you're not putting the energy into how you truly are practicing, which will shine through from the inside out. Celebrate your personal harvest with gratitude. See the bounty of soul within our personal harvest, and see it within other people. Honor that which they have accomplished, and honor that which you have accomplished. That's not arrogance. Arrogance is a whole other ball game. Again, arrogance is taking what you have achieved and holding it over someone else, or like trying to be of detriment to somebody else's way of being. There are going to be periods of personal change and personal transformation, shape shifting and skin shedding in a very snake-like way coming this autumn, I feel, for a lot of us. The energy is reminding us there is a cycle to all things, and that we can greet challenges with strength and perseverance, and eventually discover a newfound sense of hope. Hope has been difficult to come by for a lot of us in the last couple of months. It's been one thing after another for a lot of us, and some people have been saying it's the astrology, it's the retrograde. Some people like it's the atmosphere in the world right now with the culture and the politics, and some people are saying it's accumulation of all these things. But regardless, hope has been a little bit difficult to come by of late, and rediscovering what gives us hope is a powerful message. Autumn brings into focus the beauty of impermanence, of moving forward. It is the beauty of death and decay given form. As we allow the old to flow into memory and celebrate the lessons as well as who we have become. You are enough. You can be a masterpiece and a work in progress all at the same time. It's one of my favorite quotes. I really love that, as well as you were wild once, don't let them tame you. And I think both of those really apply to how we interact and feel with the world. Excuse me. I need a little refreshment in the throat. Little frog in the throat. Ribbit. I can teach you to eat frogs. No. So the beauty of impermanence, the cycle of all things, things that flow into one another. Change is very difficult for me. I don't like it. I'm an earth sign, at least on the top 3, so I struggle against it. I'm not naturally a change person. I'm much more of a fix the foundation person, but when change needs to be, change needs to be. Beauty in death and decay given form. We allowed the old to flow into memory and celebrate those lessons. There's definitely been like a clinging on to the past vibe coming into the autumn, like blaming things from the past, holding on to things for too long to the past, looking back with more rose-tinted glasses when things were not rose-tinty, to take away from the present, to compare in a negative fashion. And it's not healthy for any of us. Like, celebrate the things that need to be celebrated, accept the things that need to be accepted, and walk forward. You can be a masterpiece and a work in progress all at the same time. As I said, it's one of my favorite quotes. I love it. I love that it allows you to be this beautiful, wondrous, creative, amazing body of energy, and also human. Also, sometimes we break, sometimes we crack, sometimes we fail, sometimes we fall down, and we just get back up and we keep going, and it's human. And I really liked a post I saw yesterday, and it was talking about how we have to stop beautifying certain aspects. It's okay just to be human. I disagreed with her disliking the stretch mark tiger analogy, because I like that. I think that's a fierceness. I don't think that's pretty. But the other stuff I agreed with, like you don't have to make out that bags under your eyes are pretty. You don't have to make out that, you know, all these things are pretty. They're just human, and that's okay. We have to stop beautifying everything as if beauty is the ideal to hold up to, rather than realness, rawness, and vulnerability. So the Avalon priestess speaks. This is the meditation that feeds into the energy of the set. Before you is the harvest, the bounty of your soul, its experiences, joys, and sadnesses, the essence of personal transformation. You are forever in motion, a moving work of art. You are enough. I think the energies right now have been very, like, firstly, like that self-doubt of not being enough, and now there's kind of like attack mode thing of like attacking people. This is not enough, this is not the way, and it's like, chill, just chill out, just go sit out in the cold for 5 minutes and calm down, and allow people to be themselves, allow people to come to their own conclusions, allow people to discover for themselves. And I think we need to get back to the sense of wonder, the sense of adventure, the sense of discovery, the sense of joy, because without those things, everything becomes more stagnant. Everything becomes trapped and not able to flow and move. And that is a very real danger within humanity circles, never mind just spiritual circles. Just don't become stuck in a rut and become angry and become outwardly aggressive towards all other ways of doing things. It's just not helpful, and it's unpleasant, and it's unpleasant to be around. So give yourself better than that. Nourish yourself better than that. Something I said in the podcast group, and I made a picture of it yesterday for the Starry-Eyed Supplies Facebook, is to lead with your hands. And I think this is a very important lesson with regards to spirituality. That's kind of like an abstract concept, but I'm going to try and explain what I mean by lead with your hands. When you think about hands, they're often the primary focal point for physical connection between self and the outside world. Not always, but one of the primary focus points to the outside world in terms of connection. Obviously, you walk on your feet for most of us, not all of us, but the primary touch response to discovery and adventure is hands. It's also a very physical way of manifesting in terms of magic, spiritual, witchcraft, whatever you want to define. They're very communicative, and most communication from the body is not verbal, it's physical. So leading with your hands is kind of like an authenticity thing, because the only person's authenticity that you can vouch for is your own, because you're the only one that knows the truth of it and what's going on. And you can reach out and touch the world this way. You can hold people up, you can pat people on the back, you can put your hand on their shoulder, you can support them, you can comfort them, you can choose to be that person, or you can choose to slap that person in the face. We're talking, for the most part, in metaphors here rather than actually slapping people in the face. You do that, that's all on you. But there's definitely that how you interact with the world outside of the world within. And so we lead with our hands, and we show who we are by leading the way with how we interact, how we wave, how we touch, how we comfort, how we hold, how we express pain and harm, and how we manifest into the world. It's very tangible right now. It's very, as it is spoken, so it becomes. There's definitely that autumnal vibration. So in terms of who you are and the harvest of souls. Sounds like a horror movie thing, or a Diablo thing. It might actually be a Diablo thing, but your soul's harvest is going to be very tangible. It kind of has a very physical manifestation in the world right now, and who you are will be seen, like it or not. So it's best to uphold yourself to better values of self, because you're the only one that can do it. So remember to hope, remember to keep moving forward, and remember to honor the process. So for regards to that, with regards to physical items, we have the Falling Leaves of Avalon spell set. Where shall we start? Where shall we start? There is a spritz, which is not here, but there will be an aura spritz. This one is Blade Over Shield. Oh, protect me, Blade Over Shield is so good. Right. So let's move everything over here so I can get it. So you've heard the energies and the vibrations that are behind this particular spell set. Well, that's me dropping books on the floor. Did I drop any products? Tell me I did. Oh, I did. I wonder if I can just pause 1 second. Note to future self, you can pause these recordings. I didn't break anything, so that's that's the bonus. There are things on this desk that I didn't leave here, and so when I moved things fell everywhere and whatever. Okay, so the first thing, and we're trying our best with the light because the light is a little bit glary, just because of where it comes from, but there will be pictures on Instagram later, possibly before even the video's gone up, because I'm going to just go do the pictures next, so depending on rendering and stuff. So this is the pillar. The pillar is a beautiful black, and I'm going to try my best to get the colors to come through. And I'll kind of. And then there is a red that's not showing up very well. And then so there you go. You can see the red in the shimmy and the votive. Better pictures will be available on Instagram. This camera is not the best when it comes to strange things that happen with light. If I just, is that going to be too glary? Are we going to get better colors at all? Oh yeah, there we go. It's not too bad. But you'll get better pictures on Instagram. Much more reliable in terms of photography than this camera. There is an anointing oil and a spray. Okay, and let me describe the spray, scent, and anointing oil to you. It's autumn in a jar. Done. It has the harvest vibration and sense of autumn, with a woody undertone, and it's a little spice in some of them, just to kind of highlight those without it becoming overpoweringly. It's not fruity. It's kind of like that deep, earthy harvest scent and vibration. Then we have some spell salt, some black salt, with a few of the key flowers and herbs within. And that has a very strong protective vibe. The thing that went off the side of the desk, but it's okay, it did not get damaged, was the spell cauldron. The spell cauldron has this beautiful brown, and hopefully you can see some of the colors. Gosh, look at the terribleness of this lighting. The charm actually fell off. The charm is a little leaf. I will put the charm back on for photography, so that will all be sorted by the time it gets anywhere near the store. But the charm fell off when it plunged to its metaphorical death off the desk. It wanted to show that it was death energies that you too can survive. Look, if he can survive the drop, so can you. So then I really do love the colors within the pillars and the scents within the oils, but my top 3 favorite things in the scent in this spell range are the new spell oil, the smudge, and the spell orb. So we're gonna attempt to do this with the oil, because the lighting may well, the lighting ain't great. There's lighting. There we go. Okay. And my sleeve over the microphone. And then we have the little orb. So this is the orb with a little 3D pumpkin. I love these. I found these and I was so excited. The autumnal kind of copper leaf sheer ribbon, and then hopefully you can get a good autumnal kind of vibe of what's in the spell orb. Again, the light is a little bit glary. We'll get some better photos for Instagram. Last but not least is the smudge. This is autumn in a jar. It's so good. Oh, I just want to eat it. You should not eat it. Do not eat them. But yeah, it smells just like autumn. The colours are quite vibrant. They're not as vibrant on this camera as they will be when you see them on Instagram. The pictures will be much better on there. So the energies behind the falling leaves of Avalon are, as I'll mention in the rest of the video. They help you to take to a place of healing. As well, with that being one of the primary focuses. So the reason for that is the archetypal realm, the spiritual place of healing that I manifest into my healing and my healing products is Avalon. It's like creating a meditative, energetic space within mind, within ritual, that we can connect to for the essences of healing and what it represents to us as people. When it comes to the autumn set there with the priestess who is among the falling leaves, she has a very specific look to her. She's in robes of crimson, with a thick woolen knot around her center. She's hooded and she walks barefoot. I'm just channeling it and telling you guys how I see it, amongst the autumn leaves. This is kind of automatic writing, so there you go. This is an interesting experience at the end of this video. So if you hung around, you got insight. Well done for the guys that hung around. She walks barefoot amongst the leaves and the autumnal harvest. She stands by the lake, arms outstretched. Speaking to the spirits of the falling rain. And the wind swirling with leaves. She speaks of healing. She speaks of being enough. She speaks of stepping into your power and your sovereignty and honoring your soul harvest. Soul harvest is a very big part of the falling leaves of Avalon because of the very strong harvest vibes at autumn, of being bountiful, of being enriched, of enriching the world from a place of wholeness and surety. You don't have to be whole in the sense that you have no broken parts, no ugly parts, and that's the wrong interpretation of whole. It's just that you already are whole, flaws and all, and to better yourself, to keep trying, to keep getting up, to keep creating your own masterpiece of self is a process which a lot of us are trying our best to engage in, and that process by which we try is the point. Cool. That's where I think I'll leave it for this autumn video. Some vibes, some feelings, some thoughts, some messages, some spellisms, some Joey, some things leaping off the desk, and we had to pause the video because it happens in real time. It's the life of being a witch, things jump. So that's it for this video, boys and ghouls. Thank you for being a part of it. Stay fluxy and many blessings.